What's going on, everybody? I'm Ryan with the Accidental Overlander, the rookie overlander who is filming my journey, including mistakes, to help out beginners just like me. And today I am reviewing this Hewolf Pop Up Tent that I've had for a little while. I've been able to take it out on a few trips, and I just want to go over some of the things that I like and dislike, and then some of the things I just wish I knew before I had actually bought the tent. So first, I kind of want to thank a fellow YouTuber out there who finally, I've known that my sound hasn't been the greatest, and I've been a little insecure about it actually, but it took a comment on one of my videos from Pitties and STI to finally push me over the edge and buy this microphone. So if you can hear me a little better today, go ahead and thank him for it, because he pushed me to do it faster than I probably should. I might have waited another month. So thank you to him for getting my butt in gear and letting me get this microphone, which will help me a lot on my videos, especially my DIY stuff or any modification I'm doing. As much as I like to keep this a secret, if you see any footage where I'm wearing something different or it kind of seems a little weird, that's actually because this is the second time I've been filming this video. The first time I hooked the mic up incorrectly, my fault, user error as normal, but shot the whole entire video because I'm using a GoPro. I can't tell anything until I get it on the computer, but I'm using a GoPro, shot the whole video, took quite a while. It was a very hot day, and then I got it up, uploaded it to the computer just to find out that I hooked up the microphone wrong, and everything I said, couldn't hear it all. Might as well not have been talking. And as much as I would have loved to have voice-overed it and made it look like a anime, I couldn't do it. So that would be why maybe some of the footage doesn't quite match up with today. Full disclosure, I wrote to Hewolf before I started this video, and I told them that if they wanted to sign a big fat check over to me, then I would make this review glowing. Sadly, they declined, which I was a little upset about, but we'll get through it. So you'll be getting a non-biased review from me. Obviously, I'm just kidding. You'll always be getting a non-biased review from me. All my videos on reviews will always be 100% honest, because nobody can pay me enough to lie to you guys. So let's get started. We're gonna start with the pros list. So when I bought this tent, probably 6 or 8 months ago, it was $100, maybe even 99. Now you can find it on Amazon. It was, when I checked last, it was $137, basically $140. So it has jumped up $40. I will leave a link in the description below if you do want to get this tent. So the price has gone up $40, but in 2021, there really hasn't been any prices going down at all, so that shouldn't be a shocker. First thing that's great about this tent is obviously it's easy setup. It sets up super fast, super easy. The whole reason I got it was for me to get out of the back of my car that was getting pretty cramped when I was trying to sleep in there on my solo trips. So this gave me a space that I could spread my legs out in, even though I'm not that big of a dude. So the easy setup, one person can set it up super easy. It probably takes about 5 times to become a master at setting this thing up. It doesn't take very long. I do have a setup video that I will link in the description below too, which was my second time setting it up, and it didn't take me that long. But if you want to watch that, you can go ahead. It should help you out. But yeah, once you set it up 5 times, you will be an expert on setting this tent up. The other thing with the setup, the Rainfly is super easy to put on. Some people might not like this Rainfly, but it works and it goes on very easy. Unless maybe there's a big wind, then it's not going to be as easy without 2 people, but it's also not impossible. Just have your back to the wind, so when you hook it on the first time, it's not blowing away. So setup super easy, doesn't take more than 1 person. I also like that they say this is a 2 to 3 person tent, and it is actually a 2 to 3 person tent with a little bit of room. If you ever go buy a tent like a Coleman tent where it says it sleeps 6 to 8 people, That means if you pack 6 adults like sardines, doesn't matter if they're going long ways or sideways, like you can fit 6, but you're not fitting anything else. You can get your 2 to 3 people in there. You still have a little space for your bags. I would suggest, I mean, you could probably fit 3 adults, but you know, whatever your situation is, that could work for you. But I would suggest that you keep it to 2 adults. You could probably do 2 adults and a kid, or you know, add a dog in there too. But it's perfect for that. It's perfect for solo trips. So I do love it for that. It's a definite plus having 2 doors on this thing. They only give you 2 tent poles to set up the awning with. So, and I have 2 others. So if you had another set of tent poles, you could set up 2 awnings. But it's nice having 2 doors. That way, when I get to camp, you know, it doesn't really matter how you kind of configure it. Like usually you have a main door, which is what you're going to use, but it's nice to know that, say there are 3 of us in there, you know, it's not going to be a problem getting out, besides the doors not being great, but we'll get to that on the not so awesome parts of this tent. But yeah, so I love the fact that having 2 doors, you can get a cross breeze through. So having 2 doors is nice. And going with the 2 doors, this awning is pretty sweet too. Not only did it make me have to learn how to tie a bow knot, because not knowing how to tie a knot, I really couldn't use this awning. So it made me learn something new, which is nice. And now I can tie it down pretty fast. You know, originally it would probably take me about 15 minutes to set up, but I'm getting decent at it now. And it's kind of functional. The one time I did take it out in the summertime and I was devastatingly hot, I had both doors open and then it started to rain. So I eventually had to, you know, and the rain's coming down, it was like hitting me in the face and stuff. So I eventually had to shut the one door because I didn't want to get all wet. And even if I had flipped, then my feet would have gotten wet. So that wouldn't have been great. But even when I shut that door, I was able to keep the door with the awning open because the rain wasn't getting in through there. So that was nice. So like, I mean, during a heavy rain, you probably wouldn't be able to do it. But the light rain that I was going through, it was nice to be able to keep the door with the awning open. It has a little shade, which is nice if you need it. Or if you're coming out and it's raining, then putting your shoes on, you're not necessarily just standing in the rain while you're putting your shoes on. So I do like the awning a lot. Some of the cons of this tent kind of work as pros. So this tent is more of an awning for the beach, like a sunshade, that they've actually put a bug net on the inside. So it's kind of just got a glorified awning with a bug net. But that does help in certain situations. So if you have a tent that's waterproof, no matter what, you're probably going to get condensation on the inside just from the body heat and breathing if it's really cold outside. And that condensation on the tent will always be wet. So even if it's raining and there's not water coming through the tent, there's usually going to be condensation. So if your bag, just for example, if your bag is sitting against the side of the tent, it's going to get wet because the side of the tent's wet from the condensation. Since this isn't necessarily like a tent, just the awning with the bug net, there's actually a 1/2 inch to 1 inch space between the bug net and the outside of the tent. So the last camping trip I took, it was super cold out and it actually rained at night. So when I woke up, spoiler alert for the last thing I love about this tent, but it kept me dry. So it was waterproof, but so it kept me dry. And when I went to touch the outside of the tent, that was still wet from the condensation. But since I had that inch of space between the tent and the bug net, I'm not getting that condensation at all. So that's a definite plus that I love about this tent. Like, so no matter what condensation or anything, it's not going to touch the actual tent where you're sleeping. So you're always going to stay dry. Another positive about this tent is it actually keeps you pretty dark inside. Or it doesn't claim to be Coleman, you know, dark room technology or, you know, something like that. But I've slept in tents where a full moon has kept me up at night because it's just so bright in the tent with a full moon. So this tent, it's shady on the inside. So if you wanted to take a nap or you sleep in during the day, the sun's not necessarily going to be waking you up with this tent. I just like that it's not super bright. I also like how easily this tent packs down. They give you a strap to wrap around it, it's real easy to, you know, that the breakdown process might take 7 times to master rather than the 3 to 5 that it takes to set up. But once that doesn't take much longer either. And once you get that down, then it becomes really easy too. But it will take about, or it took me about 7 times. So it'll probably take you like 3. And they give you an enormous bag to put it in. I do have to thank Hewolf for that, because I have a couple tents and getting them into the bag is a workout in itself. With this bag, I'm able to put it in. I have a ground tarp for it, which fits in the bag super easy. I've put in extra tent stakes. They also fit in the bag super easy. So not only does that tent fit in the bag, and it's not hard to get into, but you can store other things in that bag, which with my other tents, it's almost unheard of. They can barely fit the instructions on the inside. So the breakdown part I love, and the fact that they gave me a bag that I don't have to, you know, bust a freaking blood vessel just trying to fit the tent back in. Love it. So full disclosure, I do spray all my tents with the Kiwi heavy duty tent spray, the waterproof stuff. And that, with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's just going to make any tent waterproof, because I've sprayed it on one Coleman tent that it worked very well on, but I also had an Ozark Trail tent, which I know they're the cheapest of the cheap, but I sprayed it on that and it rained and that thing was a waterfall. So just because you spray with that stuff doesn't necessarily mean that your tent's going to be waterproof after that. But I just wanted to let you know that I did spray this tent down. I will spray, I don't care if it's $1,000 tent. I will probably spray every tent down I buy from here on out with that stuff now to the end of the time. Finally, and probably most importantly, with every tent anybody buys, the main question is it waterproof? When it rains, is all my stuff gonna get soaked? Am I gonna get soaked? Am I gonna be cold and wet? Or is it gonna at least keep me dry? And I never was able to get out in the rain on a camping trip. However, one day when it was raining all day long, pouring down rain, I got it out here early in the morning and I freaking set it up just to see, basically just for this video. So I'll show you some of that footage now. What is going on, everybody? We are in the Hewolf tent. I wish I could say I was out camping, testing it out, but I just happened to know it was gonna rain all day today. So I wanted to set it up and finally get it rain tested. And it is raining pretty good, at least. I know I'm not seeing anything dripping from here. Like, that's got some water on it, but I also think that's probably from me standing up. We actually, when I do the review, and it's which that's nice having 2 doors. I probably don't want to stay in here too long. I just wanted to see the initial, but right now, not seeing any drips or leaks or anything. So yes, the Hewolf tent did surprisingly well. I didn't think it was gonna be waterproof, especially at the price point that it was at, but I mean, it was pouring down rain, and the only rain that got in that tent was when I was walking in and out of it. So that was great. I was really excited to have it perform well in that test. So, big thing, it's waterproof. I would spray it, but I bet you it still does a pretty good job even if you don't spray it. So those are my favorite things about this Hewolf tent. Unfortunately, it is time to get into the things that I do not like about this tent. So yeah, I wouldn't even really consider it a tent. It is more of like just that awning, like you could take to the beach if you had a family. It would keep you nice and shady. And then they just decided to basically put a bug net on the inside of it, which that's what I wish I knew before I got it. Because when I'm looking at the pictures online, it certainly just kind of looked like a normal tent. And then when I got it, I realized it really wasn't. And there's certainly tents, same pop-up style. I'm sure they're made of the same factory and all that stuff. And they are regular tents. But I'm sure they have their own problems also. Another thing I hate about this tent is the floor. And kind of the materials in general. I mean, with a $100 tent, I wasn't expecting the nicest seams and stitching and all that stuff. But the stitching kind of already started coming out in some places. But the floor is by far the cheapest floor I have seen on a tent. It doesn't come up very high, which I don't like. And it's certainly just a thin, honestly, I don't even like not having the ground tarp out here right now. It's just the thinnest floor I've ever seen. I would always grab a ground tarp for any tent I buy anyway, but this one, you are going to have a ground tarp. There's no way that this thing would last more than a couple trips if you didn't have a ground tarp under it. So get a ground tarp and you'll kind of be fine. But even that being said, the floor sucks. So I know I said I loved the 2 doors, which I do, but there's no windows. And I know that goes with it being, you know, the awning around the bug net. So you can't really have any windows. But yeah, you have to have 2 doors. The fact that I can't just open a window if I'm hot or any of that stuff, it sucks. Not having windows in a tent, no fun. Look out, it's something I didn't pay attention to when I bought it. And I would suggest that you do. And getting back to the floor not being the best, the storage pocket that they have in there is terrible. Since the floors barely come up, the storage pocket is basically on the floor. It's really small. They only have one. So, I mean, if you're putting it'd be nice, I guess, if you put your cell phone in it, at least you know it's not going anywhere if your tent blows away in a storm or something. But other than that, it's not going to be too useful because you could basically just step on it anyway. So I do hate the storage pocket. So by far the worst part about this tent are the doors. The doors, you know, you have a double set of doors, which isn't fun. So if you're worried about bugs getting in, or you're just trying to do something real quick, maybe it's raining outside, or you just, you know, you need to go to the bathroom late at night, you have to go through 2 sets of doors, which is already a pain in the butt. And then this outside door isn't very user-friendly. So if it's raining really hard, which it was when I was doing my review on it, freaking trying to get in there really fast, almost impossible. Because you have to open up both sets of doors. These things open on 2 different sides, so I can't even just open one side and squeeze in. Maybe if I lose a little bit more weight, I'll be able to. But it makes it really difficult. And it, you know, when we're camping, when we're out in the summertime, and you're kind of worried you don't want to let the bugs in, and you're trying to do it real fast, half the time I'm getting in there, and then I'm closing the screen door, and then going, oh crap, I still have to close the outside door. And then I have to undo the screen door and then do the outside door again. So that's no fun. Not to mention there's 2 Velcro pieces on the outside of the door, which when you're outside of the tent, yeah, they're very easy to put on. When you're inside of the tent, it's impossible to stick them on. So I don't even know, I mean, I get why they made the flaps, but they're not very useful when you're inside the tent. You can't really shut them. So there's no quick entry and exit, and you know, it's been a problem a couple times. So yeah, I freaking hate the doors. But that being said, it's still a good tent. It served me well. I guess the question is, would I buy it again, knowing everything? And I think the answer to that is yes. Even at $140, it was easier to buy when it was at $99, but even at 140 bucks, I don't know, man, it's a good solid tent. I don't think it's gonna last me the rest of my life. I'm not gonna be passing it down to my children or anything, but it does its job, and it's treated me well, and it's easy to set up and easy to take down, and I do love it. I do love it for those reasons. That is going to wrap up my review on the Hewolf Pop Up Tent. I hope this helped you out if you were looking at it and deciding whether or not you wanted to buy it. Remember, I will leave a link in the description down below If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't, that's no big deal to me either. Because if you look on Amazon, like I said, there are tents that look just like this, but they do have windows, so they would be more tent style. So those should work out for you. But, you know, during the summertime, I think this would be a good tent. I just hope it helped you out. If it did, give this a thumbs up. That would help me a lot. Don't forget to follow, and you can actually see this tent in action. And we will see you next time.